those of the program's participants and do not necessarily reflect those of station staff, management, and advertisers.
What's going on, everybody? Hope everyone's doing great out there. Happy Tuesday. It's Taco Tuesday. It's Trump Taco Tuesday. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. I'll explain. Welcome, PTL Nation. You could be watching on the Occupy Democrats Network, the Washington Press Network, of course, my personal YouTube page, which is at PTL Radio Show. And, of course, we are on the website, pushingthelimits.live, the FMAM Dow KSHP, and we appreciate all of you being a part of what we do here on PTL Nation. So, we have a lot to get to today. We have a lot to talk about. And we are going to be having Ron Philipowski join us at the bottom of the hour. He is from Midas Touch. And we are working again on the technical issues that I guess weren't fixed from yesterday, but hopefully they're working on it right now. So hopefully we'll get that fixed and getting ready to go for you. But we do have a lot to get to, a lot to go over today, including Caroline Levette lying again in front of the media, in front of the world, as she normally does. So we have the audio to prove that for you. We're going to be discussing that. And, wow, Mike Lindell's own attorney basically calling him a liar in a courtroom this morning. Yeah, I know that might be shocking for some of you. But yes, that is going on. So we'll be talking a little bit about that as well. And as I mentioned, a lot to get to and a lot to talk about today. So, ladies and gentlemen, should we take a quick break? What should we do here? What do you suggest? I'm asking my producer, what should we do here? Should we take a quick break? So here's what we're going to do, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to take a quick 90-second break, and when we come back, we are going to be playing audio from Caroline Levette. She just held a press conference about 30 minutes ago. So we will get to that audio when we come back. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York-style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired, our super hero, that is, because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and fees. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
You are way too smart, way too talented, way too good to be where you are. You are meant to be making way more money, feel way hotter in your body, and having way more fun. Hi, I'm Nicole Mitchell, and I'm a life coach. I help you get hotter and richer. If that is what you're looking for, you can find me at NicoleMitchell.com. My name is Nicole, is with a K, Nikole, NicoleChell.com. Reach out to me on my website or on Instagram, and I will be happy to be in touch and figure out what you're looking for and how I can support you in getting there.
Have you ever dreamed of having your own radio show or a podcast, but just didn't think it was possible? Well, dreams can come true. Radio U. Radio U is a 5-day course that'll teach you how to acquire your dream show. We'll teach you how to host, how to write commercial, how to interview, how to market, how to write a contract, and most importantly, how to monetize your dream radio show. You'll learn from some of the best in the business with over 75 years in broadcast experience. You'll learn from people like me. And the best part? Every single student will be live on the radio as part of the class. Plus, one student from each class will get their very own radio show. You'll be live on the air right here in Las Vegas. Radio U. The 5-day course is being offered at $699. For more information, give Radio U a call. 702-763-5024. That's 702-763-5024. Or check them out at RadioYOU101.com.
Complete Family Care in Henderson is open. No waiting, just walk in, see the doctor right away, have your blood and x-rays done on site, and so call them today at 702-747-7770. Fall allergy season is here. Get a 3-month allergy shot for $120. 3 months of allergy relief for just $120. Complete Family Care accepts all major insurances and Medicare, so visit us today at cfchenderson.com. That's cfchenderson.com, or call them at 702-747-7770. That's 747-7770.
The ultimate Vegas extravaganza with Terry Fader. One man, 100 voices, 1,000 laughs. Come experience an immersive journey of comedy, music, and parody songs as Terry Fader, the world's top ventriloquist, takes center stage at the Strat Hotel Casino and Tower. Be prepared to be mesmerized by Fader's incredible talent as he brings to life a cast of characters who showcase the iconic songs that define the soundtrack of our lives. Terry Fader, one man, 100 voices, 1,000 laughs.
Clear Sky Resorts invites you to experience the future of luxury glamping at their newest resort, opening August 1st, 2024 near Bryce Canyon. Guests at the first and only glass-domed stargazing resort in the U.S. will be immersed in the stunning scenery of the resort's private 80-acre canyon, both indoors and out. And nights in your Sky Dome will be like sleeping in an aquarium of stars. Located in Cannonville, Utah, on scenic Byway 12, voted one of the most scenic roads in America, the resort will feature lots of fun on-resort activities, as well as one of the world's largest glass-domed restaurants. To book your reservation, please call 1-888-704-4445 or visit clearskyresorts.com.
All right, welcome back. Pushing the limits on a Tuesday. Kind of reset the scene for you a little bit here as we were working out some of the audio issues, and I think we got things up and running here. My apologies. Sorry about that. Welcome back to the program, Pushing the Limits on a Tuesday. We got Ron Philipowski that's going to be joining us here in just a little bit. And as I mentioned earlier, Caroline Levette, as I like to call her, Caroline the lying bitch Levette, because that's what she is. I'm not going to, be careful with my words here because I think she's a terrible human being and a liar. And I wanted to get right into the audio of some of the press conference that took place earlier today. So, Caroline Levette talking about President Trump, or drunk, I think as I just said, being in charge. The days of criminals being put over victims are over. I really don't understand what Caroline Levette is really trying to get at here, but speaking of criminals, I just want to remind everybody, Donald Trump is the 34-count felon, but have a listen to this.
With President Trump in charge, the days of criminals being put over victims are over.
I don't know really what she means by that, because last I checked, the man who she works for is a 34-count felon, but that's okay. We'll let that one slide, okay? Maybe just a blunder. Parts of the press conference today, they made it a point to go after the Washington Post. Now, we always hear freedom of the press, right? Freedom of the press, freedom of speech, our First Amendment rights. But yet Caroline Levette made it a point today to go after the Washington Post for trying to change a headline. Folks, I am not making this up. Have a listen to this.
Very first briefing, several months ago, I said I would hold anyone accountable in this room. The Washington Post actually had this headline, "The Mysterious Drop in Fentanyl Seizures on the U.S.-Mexico Border." How is this mysterious? There is no mystery about why there is a decrease in fentanyl coming into the United States. This administration's strong border policies are the reason there has been a decrease in fentanyl trafficking. His strengthened relationship with Mexican President Sheinbaum and all of the measures he has been taking to deter illegal human and drug trafficking at our United States southern border is the reason for plummeting fentanyl seizures at the U.S. border. There is nothing mysterious about that, and we'd like to see the Washington Post update their headline accordingly. This is clearly trying to intentionally manipulate the minds of Americans, and I think the American people understand why there's been a fentanyl drop. And our office responded to this inquiry. We provided a whole host of the reasons that fentanyl seizures at the southern border have dropped, and the Washington Post refused to run them.
Yeah, there you go. So Caroline Levette basically taking time out of the press conference, making it a point to go after members of the media because she doesn't like a headline. She doesn't like a headline. That's why. They actually took the time today to not talk about the economy in logical senses, right? Or talk about the war in the Ukraine or these trade wars where we don't have deals being put in place or people not getting the right to a hearing. They didn't talk about really the important issues that Americans want to hear about. No. Caroline Levette decided to go after the Washington Post. This is what this administration is focused on. And there was a joke made by somebody in the Trump administration about the fact that this is hurricane season where so many people lose their lives and lose their livelihood. Caroline Levette was asked about that. Have a listen.
About hurricane season appropriate, though, now that this is serious business, as you talked about?
It's serious business, Kelly, and I'm not going to engage in such fodder with a question like that.
So again, somebody in the Donald Trump administration made a joke about hurricane season. As you know, during hurricane season, sadly, I wish this wasn't the case, so many people lose their lives, right? So many innocent people. But yet, somehow it's okay for somebody within the Trump administration to make jokes and to laugh. Somehow that makes it funny. And of course, Caroline Levette doesn't want to address that. She doesn't want to address that issue. No, that can't be true. You're just a fake news media. We don't want to talk about that. They think it's funny. And you notice how Caroline Levette somehow thinks that it's fake news. You notice that? Just completely sickening, and it's completely disgusting. And then there's Caitlin Collins, who I think is a very good journalist at CNN. Caitlin Collins asking Caroline Levette what I would consider is to be a pretty darn good question in regards to the deficit. There are Republicans out there that do not think this is a big, beautiful bill. There are several Republicans out there that have been very outspoken on it. Caitlin Collins asked that question. Have a listen to this.
Caitlin.
Two questions for you as well. On the big, beautiful bill, you said recently that it is, quote, blatantly wrong to say that it adds to the deficit. You essentially said that an estimate from the Congressional Budget Office and other scorekeepers you believe are wrong. But Republicans like Ron Johnson and Rand Paul disagree. They are saying that it will add to the deficit. That is their concern. Is the White House's position that those two Republican senators are, quote, blatantly wrong?
It is. Those senators, it's not news that they disagree with this president on policy, and the president has vocally called them out for it and for their not having their facts together.
They don't have their facts together, Caroline Levette just said. So every economist that is non-biased has said that this big, beautiful bill will get us somewhere between $5 to $6 trillion in debt over the course of the next year or two. But yet, when a few Republicans are against this bill, and there are a few Republicans that plan on not voting for this bill, somehow they don't have their facts right, but the Trump administration does. This is, again, par for the course for Caroline the Liar Levette. And this was probably, as I would consider it to be, one of the most embarrassing parts of the press conference earlier today, Peter Doocy, also known as Peter Douchey, as I like to call him on Fox News, brought props to this press conference to try to prove that Biden used some sort of auto pen to sign pardons. Now, obviously, there's no real evidence to suggest that that took place, but again, Peter Doocy still tries his best, and of course, Caroline Levette entertains it. Have a listen to this exchange.
Thank you, Caroline. When you look at these last-minute Biden pardons, the big ones, Biden siblings, Fauci, January 6th committee.
That's right.
Most of the big ones have the same very neat signature. We would expect that probably to be the auto pen. There is one that looks different. It looks authentic. In fact, if you look at the last name, it almost looks like the president was having a hard time spelling his last name there. Is this White House of the opinion that the only pardon that would count is one that the president signed himself?
It's very interesting. Very interesting props. If you want to bring them to my office later so I can take a closer look, I would like to do that. The president is making a good point when he discusses the usage of the auto pen. Who was running the country for the past 4 years? Perhaps those documents were signed with the auto pen, something that this, I believe the Department of Justice is looking into. As you saw, Ed Martin made an announcement at the Department of Justice this morning to launch an investigation because the American people deserve answers.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. So, again, a right-wing entity like Fox News and Peter Doocy, who, by the way, has zero credibility, brings props to the press conference. There's no real evidence that there was an auto pen that was used. And again, Peter Doocy, disrespectful, Biden struggling to sign his last name. There's no evidence of that. So what does Caroline Levette do? She entertains it. Why? Because it's negative. Anything that could be negative about Joe Biden, she entertains. Anything that could be positive about Donald Trump, she entertains. But if it's anything else, she doesn't have an answer for it. Don't we understand that this is what this administration does, and it's what they will continue to do over the course of the next 3.5 years, period? Another embarrassing press conference filled with lies and propaganda and attacking certain media organizations because they don't like a headline in an article. That's what Caroline Levette does. And that's what she will continue to do. But yet people believe it. And she will continue to call on right-wing members of the media to ask the fluffer questions that will somehow make Joe Biden look bad and make Donald Trump look good. That was the case again this morning. They take the time because they don't like a Washington Post news headline. Can you imagine if they did this in the Barack Obama administration? Could you imagine if they did this in the Joe Biden administration? Can you imagine? Every single headline you don't like in the media, to make it a point to talk about it in a press conference. I think most administrations have better things to do than to worry about stuff like this. It's sad. It's pathetic. Speaking of pathetic, have you heard about the Mike Lindell trial that's taking place right now, where Mike Lindell was sued by Dominion Voting Machines? Because we know that Mike Lindell was the guy back in the day, and still to today, you know, claiming that the 2020 election was stolen. Well, Mike Lindell continued to rave about this outside a courtroom yesterday, claiming that he's being railroaded. And he said that Satan is behind the whole thing. Have a listen to this.
But it was also my evidence. So when I come in, I needed that evidence. When you delete evidence, it's like throwing a gun in a river. That's called spoliation in any court case. They threw away my evidence. You think I wasn't upset about that too? But no, I wasn't worried about some court case down the road. I was worried about, I can't believe the cover-up, that they're covering up our elections, starting here in Colorado.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. That's what it is. Make no mistake about it. His own attorney, Mike Lindell's own attorney in a courtroom today, said that they weren't going to try to prove that the 2020 election was stolen, and that all it was with Mike Lindell was all words, and Lindell was all talk. That was his own attorney that made those statements in a courtroom earlier today. Now, listen, anybody with an IQ over 20 knows that, right? They all know that. But his own attorney actually saying it in a courtroom is a whole other story, and that's what his attorney said today. Mike Lindell is going to have to fork up a lot of money to Dominion voting machines, just like Fox News had to do the exact same thing. And then did you see Linda McMahon? She testified under oath today in front of Congress, and she showed how stupid she is, even from actual MAGA Republicans. Markwayne Mullin doesn't get more right-wing knee pad wearing than anybody else in Washington, D.C. And he asked her, again, McMahon, she is in charge of education in this country. And he asked her, do you know what we were ranked nationally in math and reading back in 1979? Listen to her answer.
Senator Mullin.
Thank you, Chairman. Madam Chair, what's the definition of insanity?
Of sanity or insanity?
Insanity.
Insanity?
Yeah.
Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome.
Right. And what was we ranked in reading and math in 1979?
I'm sorry, what?
What was we ranked nationally in math and reading in 1979?
We were very, very low on the totem pole.
We were number one in 1979. Today...
Oh, 1979, sorry. Okay.
In 1979, we were ranked number one around the world.
She had no idea what he was talking about. Again, she's the one that's in charge. She's the one who Donald Trump personally picked. Why? Because the McMahons have donated money to the Trump campaign. They're big Trump supporters. That's why. She is unqualified and she is not in the appropriate position. That's for sure. Maybe she can continue to run fake wrestling, but she's not in the position that she should be in. She shouldn't be working in any government position for that matter. In charge of education in this country, she has no idea what she's talking about. And then Senator Murphy talked about how they are cutting off funding for certain universities when they have absolutely no authorization to do so. And there is no statute that gives them the right to tell any university that they have a certain I guess you could say position where they can do what they are implementing right now. And now you can see the double standard. Listen to the double standard that Murphy puts into place, and McMahon has no rebuttal to it and no answer to it. Have a listen to this.
To understand what the Department of Education is doing with respect to the threats you've made against institutions of higher education. In the letter that you sent to Harvard demanding that they make certain changes, you told them that they had to end all of their diversity programs, but that they had to institute viewpoint diversity. That doesn't seem to make sense. How do you tell them to end all their diversity programs? And we assume that this is a mandate that you will make of other schools as well. How do you ask them to end diversity programs while instituting viewpoint diversity? Those seems to be totally contradictory.
No, the diversity programs that we've asked and demanded to be eliminated were the DEI, where they were, those programs actually were pitting one group against another.
Isn't viewpoint diversity a diversity program?
A viewpoint diversity is exchange of ideas that's actually better, absolutely. Now here, because Harvard only has 3%, by its own numbers, 3% conservative faculty, do you think they are allowing enough of viewpoint diversity through that teaching on campus?
Where in the statute does it give you the ability to cut off federal funding for a university based upon your decision, your determination that they don't have viewpoint diversity? Can you cite to a statute, an authority that Congress has given you to micromanage the viewpoint diversity of a college?
Well, certainly well, now let's back up.
Well, no, I think that's really important.
Let's back up, she says. She never answers the question. They do not have the authorization to do so, and she couldn't read out a statute because they don't have the authorization to do it. But you see, Donald Trump defies the rule of law every single day. They break the law every single day. And we all know why Donald Trump is going after Harvard. He was not admitted in. His son was not admitted in. That's the reason why they are going after Harvard. It's very simple. This is the woman that's in charge of our education in this country. She has absolutely no idea what she's talking about, no clue. And she's completely underqualified for really any position in the government, let alone this one. So she's under oath. Even Republicans are trying to make her look good, and she didn't know what she was talking about. When Markwayne Mullin asked her about the ranking of math and reading back in 1979, she had no idea that we were number one. She thought we were at the end of the totem pole. No idea of history when it comes to education in this country. She is only a yes woman for everything that Donald Trump wants her to do, like attacking Harvard. It's pathetic. It's disgusting. And that's what's going on in this administration. And it's going to continue to happen. We have so many people in his administration that are underqualified, that should not be in the position that they're in. We could be talking about a Kash Patel. We could be talking about a Robert F. Kennedy Jr. We could be talking about a Linda McMahon. There are so many people in this administration that are so underqualified and unserious candidates like a Pete Hegseth. It's an embarrassment, and this is what you get. And even when Republicans on the House floor are trying to make this person look good, they end up making them look dumber, which is the case what happened today with McMahon. It's mind-boggling. All right, so to talk to us a little bit about Elon Musk trashing Donald Trump's budget bill, Marjorie Taylor Greene admitting that she didn't read a bill that she voted for, and many other topics. We're going to get to that coming up here on the other side of the break. Ron Philipowski from Midas Touch is going to be joining us next, and we'll also get his reaction to Caroline Levette's press conference this morning. Always good catching up with Ron. We'll be back here in just a few minutes. We'll take a quick break. Back with Ron Philipowski from Midas Touch. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
You are way too smart, way too talented, way too good to be where you are. You are meant to be making way more money, feel way hotter in your body, and having way more fun. Hi, I'm Nicole Mitchell, and I'm a life coach. I help you get hotter and richer. If that is what you're looking for, you can find me at NicoleMitchell.com. My name, Nicole, is with a K, NicoleMitchell.com. You can reach out to me on my website or on Instagram, and I will be happy to be in touch and figure out what you're looking for and how I can support you in getting there.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and fees. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
Have you ever dreamed of having your own radio show or a podcast, but just didn't think it was possible? Well, dreams can come true. Radio U. Radio U is a 5-day course that'll teach you how to acquire your dream show. We'll teach you how to host, how to write commercial, how to interview, how to market, how to write a contract, and most importantly, how to monetize your dream radio show. You'll learn from some of the best in the business with over 75 years in broadcast experience. You'll learn from people like me. And the best part? Every single student will be live on the radio as part of the class. Plus, one student from each class will get their very own radio show. You'll be live on the air right here in Las Vegas. Radio U. The 5-day course is being offered at $699. For more information, give Radio U a call, 702-763-5024. That's 702-763-5024. Or check them out at RadioYOU101.com.
Clear Sky Resorts invites you to escape the ordinary with a vacation that's extraordinary. Experience one-of-a-kind glamping vacations full of fun and adventure at their unique Sky Dome Resort near the Grand Canyon. To ensure every Clear Sky Resorts vacation is fun and memorable, they offer lots of family-friendly activities, the majority of them free for guests. And because every great adventure deserves great food, their resident food truck promises to keep guests deliciously fueled for all the fun. To book your reservation today, please call 1-888-704-4445 or visit clearskyresorts.com.
The ultimate Vegas extravaganza with Terry Fader. One man, 100 voices, 1,000 laughs. Come experience an immersive journey of comedy, music, and parody songs as Terry Fader, the world's top ventriloquist, takes center stage at the Strat Hotel Casino and Tower. Be prepared to be mesmerized by Fader's incredible talent as he brings to life a cast of characters who showcase the iconic songs that define the soundtrack of our lives. Terry Fader, one man, 100 voices, 1,000 laughs.
Get ready, football fans. The Los Angeles Rams are back, and they're hungrier than ever. In the city of angels, where stars shine bright, a new chapter unfolds on the gridiron. It's a tale of determination, camaraderie, and heart-stopping action. Buckle up, because the Rams are about to electrify the NFL. All Los Angeles Rams games can be heard right here in Las Vegas on KSHP, AM 1400 and 107.1 FM, sponsored by Silver 7 Hotel and Casino.
Step into the Prettiest Beauty Studio, where our main goal is to create a comfortable and professional environment for our clients. Walk out feeling even more beautiful, fresh, and pampered. Nails, pedicures, lashes, waxing, permanent makeup. Book your appointments today. 702-812-3295. Located at 1959 North Decatur and Lake Mead. Walk-ins are welcome.
At The Human Bean, our mission is to serve up specialty coffee and smiles with a bean on top. With a bean on top is more than just a delicious chocolate-covered espresso bean. It's our way of saying thank you and of seeking to make your day, one drink at a time. Have you had a bean on top moment today? The Human Bean, with 2 Las Vegas locations, 5602 West Charleston and Lindell, and 5265 Camino El Norte in Washburn.
You are way too smart, way too talented, way too good to be where you are. You are meant to be making way more money, feel way hotter in your body, and having way more fun. Hi, I'm Nicole Mitchell, and I'm a life coach. I help you get hotter and richer. If that is what you're looking for, you can find me at NicoleMitchell.com. My name, Nicole, is with a K, NicoleMitchell.com. You can reach out to me on my website or on Instagram, and I will be happy to be in touch and figure out what you're looking for and how I can support you in getting there.
Hey everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premium Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
All right, welcome back. Pushing the Limits on a Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining us. We are covering all the breaking news, of course. Caroline Levette with a press conference earlier today. We played some of that audio for you. Mike Lindell going crazy outside of a courtroom in his Dominion lawsuit. Plenty to get to, plenty to talk about. And how long will it be before Donald Trump starts to trash Elon Musk after him going after this big, beautiful bill? So a lot to get to and a lot to talk about. And the guy joining us on the show right now, of course, you know him from Midas Touch, the editor-in-chief. Always a pleasure to have Ron Philipowski joining us right now on the program. Ron, it is good to see you, my friend, as always. How are you?
Hey, good to see you too. Yeah, I kind of had to drop everything there when Musk put that tweet out, trying to get the Republican reaction to what he did. You know, wow, that's like dropping a nuclear bomb on the budget.
Did you expect him to be that aggressive today? Like this kind of,
No.
We all knew that he wasn't in favor of the bill, right? Because he made some statements before, but this was like, boom. Like, did you see this coming, Ron?
No. I mean, I knew he was grumbling and griping about it, but I didn't expect him to come out this strong and this direct at a critical time when the Senate is in heavy negotiations with 4 to 6 senators who have said that they don't want to vote for the bill. So, yeah, I mean, this is because now what this does is this gives other senators like Mike Lee, who haven't said how they're going to vote for the bill, but have criticized it, cover, because he can say, look, and a lot of them are coming out now, like Thomas Massey and others are saying, look, I agree with Elon Musk. He agrees with me. You guys like Musk? He's right. And Mike Johnson is wrong. And Trump is wrong. And so, yeah, it gives them a little bit of political cover to where maybe they can feel a little bit safer in opposing this bill, because now they got Elon Musk openly on their side. But yeah, I was really surprised by the strength of the statement. Mike Johnson's response to it was he was shocked and surprised, said he just had a conversation with Elon yesterday, and he thinks that that Elon's motives for making the statement have to do with his EV credits, which are being eliminated as part of this budget, which is going to definitely hurt his business for sure. So there's some things in this budget that hurt Elon directly financially.
Mm-hmm. What do you make of the rumors that he gets into a physical altercation with a member of Donald Trump's cabinet? Are you buying that? It just seems like the relationship has deteriorated. I gave it like 6 months. It's been less than that. What do you make of that? And you think that might be a part of this as well?
Yeah. I mean, clearly there was a lot of confrontation between Musk and Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. Mm-hmm. There was, they butted heads. He butted heads with Bessent on the budget, on several other things, but he also butted heads with Lutnick over tariffs. Okay. So they went at it with him on that, and Peter Navarro, and Peter Navarro has never liked Musk. So yeah, I mean, he certainly and then, all the cuts that he made when he first came in infuriated people like Marco Rubio and the transportation secretary and others. And so, yeah, I think he just thoroughly burned his bridges across the board. And Susie Wiles, the chief of staff, was upset because Musk was often doing things without telling her. And then, she would be caught flat-footed. And that happened to Caroline Levitt, the press secretary, a number of times, where she's in a press briefing, including today, where she's, somebody's reading something that Musk just tweeted off their phone and asking her about it. And she doesn't, she's blindsided. So his erratic behavior, look, in my opinion, there's no good guys here. They're all bad guys for different reasons, but his erratic behavior, I mean, he's really burning his bridges really quick. Plus, let's not forget, he also said he wasn't going to spend any more money on candidates and on the midterms. So that didn't go over very well either.
Yeah, that's also very true. Speaking of bills, though, I wanted to ask you about this. Marjorie Taylor Greene putting out a tweet saying, I didn't know this was in this bill, yet she votes for the bill anyway. And your comment rings true. It's like, okay, well, when you vote against or for a bill, shouldn't you read it first? I mean, what do you make of that? Her openly admitting, I didn't know that was in the bill. Then why did you vote for it?
This was one of the main promises that Mike Johnson made when they ousted Kevin McCarthy as speaker. One of their complaints was that he didn't give them time to read bills. And they also had that complaint about Pelosi. So when Mike Johnson, when they were going through all these, remember, they had a lot of other people that were up for speaker first before Johnson was, that Jim Jordan and others that were voted down. And Johnson was the one who firmly said, I will make this change. I'll make this rule change. We will have single subject bills, and everyone will get 72 hours to read the bill before they have to vote on it. And he broke both of those promises with this budget. Not only is this not single subject, it contains, it's big and not beautiful. It's big and bloated. It contains thousands of things in one bill. So she apparently claimed, well, there's this provision in there about surveillance and all of that, and Palantir and different things like that, compiling these databases to track people. And a lot of right-wingers specifically have dug into these things and pointed these things out, like this is in here too. This is terrible. We don't like this. And so she apparently just noticed it. But, the other thing is it's on page 267 of the bill. So it's not like it's like buried in there. And she has a big staff of people that are paid to specifically go through these things. So I think that she had to know something like that was in there, but it was the backlash that happened over the last few days that has caused her to backtrack on it. Now, other Republicans have complained about this provision too, but they didn't say, I'm not going to vote for the bill because of it. She went that far. So she's now saying she's changed her mind and wants to take her vote back, which meant that it wouldn't pass because remember, it only passed by one vote.
Right. Now she does it after the fact. Interesting there. I want to dissect this Caroline Levette press conference earlier today. Let's start with Peter Doocy, who brings up these props with him, trying to make the case that this is a Biden auto pen. We hear this from the MAGA right every single day. What do you make of the fact that, first of all, there are members of the quote unquote media that are asking these kinds of questions? And Peter Doocy saying, well, it appears in this document he struggled to sign his last name. It's all they do is either attack Biden or praise Donald Trump. And as you pointed out on social media, when Caroline Levette is asked a question where it's not about Biden, it's not about, she doesn't know how to answer.
Yeah. So literally like entire Fox broadcasts, whether it's Fox and Friends, Maria Bartiromo's show, like literally around the clock for the last several weeks, they've done nothing but talk about this, about Joe Biden. Same thing in the press conferences. And this is all because of Jake Tapper's book. So congratulations to CNN and Jake Tapper and Axios for creating this incredible distraction in the middle of Trump's autocratic takeover of the republic, that, the media is spending so much time on Joe Biden and what he did in 2023. It's just utterly ridiculous. So yeah, it just constantly gets brought up, constantly gets talked about. And I was glad to see Lawrence O'Donnell, who, by the way, had the highest, I was looking at the last ratings that came out for cable news. He had the highest ratings on MSNBC and crushing Jen Psaki. And he's got the 10 o'clock slot, right? So he's got a late slot. So that's very unusual for the 10 o'clock slot to have the highest ratings on a cable news network. Jake Tapper's ratings are in the toilet.
Yeah.
And so I was happy to see him last night condemn CNN for this and say, we got a president right now who's claiming that the last president was killed in 2020 and was in a robot clone is now taking his place. And instead of doing stories about that, you're talking about Joe Biden in 2023, like ridiculous.
Ron, why is it you think that no member of the media, maybe some of them weren't called on, wouldn't ask that question? We have a president of the United States who's retweeting a conspiracy theory that Biden was executed in 2020. This is crazy stuff. Why didn't anybody ask that? I think it's actually a very important question to ask, because it shows the mental state of where Donald Trump is at right now. Why isn't anybody asking that?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, because there's this mentality of like, and I saw one longtime journalist, I forget who it was, tweeted, well, this is just Trump being Trump. He always does stuff like this. He always says crazy stuff, does crazy stuff. Oh, okay. Well, then we just excuse it, right? Because like he always says wild, crazy stuff and lies all the time. So we should just give him a pass because this is just who he is. And the mentality is like, well, voters all knew this about Trump and they elected him anyway. So yeah, it's a gross failure on the part of the press for sure.
Yeah, no question. I wanted to ask you and get your thoughts on Linda McMahon testifying before the House today, and Mark Wayne Mullen asking her. I think it was a very poignant moment where he makes a statement that we were nationally ranked in math and reading back in 1979. McMahon had no clue. She thought we were on the bottom of the list. In fact, we were ranked number 1. And then Murphy did a good job in grilling her as well. I just wanted to get your thoughts on that. I just think she proved once again that she's an imbecile and completely unqualified for that position.
Well, I mean, look, Trump's campaign promise is to abolish the Department of Education. And that's also one of Stephen Miller's main objectives. So obviously it's the same thing with FEMA. They've also pledged to abolish FEMA. So when they're putting people in charge of these agencies that they intend to abolish, it's almost like they don't want to put anybody in there who's going to do a good job because they're trying to dismantle this agency. So, I mean, Linda McMahon, who's Linda McMahon? She's a professional wrestler organization owner. Her and her husband own WWE, right? I mean, what does she know about the school system? What does she know about the public education system, the university system? She knows nothing at all. And that's painfully obvious every time she gives an interview or a press conference or testifies, that she just simply doesn't know anything. And, you know, the Trump administration really doesn't care, because their response is, look, we don't care about the Department of Education. We don't care about all this stuff that you're talking about. Funding was cut for guidance counselors and this and that. Like, they don't care about any of that. They're already saying, like, the federal government shouldn't be involved in any of that. So, so what do they care if she doesn't know anything? That's their point. They're almost making a mockery of the department and trying to make the department look foolish by putting a foolish person in charge of it.
You know, and you talk a lot about, and I talk a lot about how he said he was going to end the war within 24 hours, right? We talk about that a lot. And yet today at the press conference, it's almost like Caroline Levette is bragging. Trump's doing everything he can. You know, Biden put us in this mess. And the only reason why Russia and Ukraine are even talking is because of Donald Trump. I'm wondering, what do you make of that? Because I don't think they're any closer to making some sort of deal now than they were on day one.
Yeah, I mean, they're just so fundamentally dishonest about this. And they're always both sidesing everything when it comes to this conflict. You know, what happened at the peace talks the other day? Ukraine sent Russia 5 days before the talks a detailed peace proposal in writing. I read it. Was like 12 pages with all their proposals, right? Russia ignored it. They didn't respond. They showed up at the meeting and handed the Ukraine delegates at the meeting, which was only supposed to last an hour or two, their peace proposal. So they didn't give it to them ahead of time because they didn't want them to put it out to the press or anything like that. And so they give it to them, and it's basically just all the same stuff that they presented last time, which is, you know, a complete surrender of Ukraine. So, and it's quite clear that they have no interest in peace negotiations. Even their own prime minister or whatever it is, the person who's like the number 2 to Putin, came out and said, you know, we're not really interested in peace. We want total surrender of Ukraine. So for the press secretary to get up there again today, and she was asked, why hasn't Trump made any statement at all about Ukraine's attack of the bomber fleet? He hasn't made a single statement or Truth Social post about this, which is a huge development. And she was asked about that, and she just said, well, you know, President Trump just wants the two of them to get in a room and work things out and negotiate a peace. And it's like, what are you talking about? The whole world can see that Russia has zero interest whatsoever in a peace deal. So why are you still talking about it?
Yeah, that's a really good point. And we're told that maybe President Xi and Trump will be speaking, maybe at some point this week. We were told 90 deals in 90 days. How many deals have been made to this point? And yet they continue to brag and say that all these leaders of these countries are kissing Trump's ass and they're begging for a deal. It doesn't sound to me that China and President Xi want anything to do with Donald Trump.
Yeah, I don't think anything is going to come out of that. I mean, other than Trump surrendering again. But I don't see anything. I mean, the real thing to watch to me is the steel and aluminum tariffs, which are
50%,
are supposed to take effect tomorrow. Which, I mean, when Trump shows up at the steel mill on Friday and announced that out of the blue, like nobody knew about that. Nobody on Congress knew. None of the trade reps knew. None of the industry people knew. And he just comes out and announces, I'm hitting Europe and other places with a 50% tariff on steel and aluminum effective this Wednesday, which is tomorrow. So the question is he going to chicken out on that again? Because, or not? Is this going to be another taco Trump deal or not? Because this is huge. Just look around, just walk in a grocery store, walk down the aisle and see how many things that are made of aluminum and steel. Campbell Soup said they're raising the prices of their soup because their soup cans are made out of steel, right?
Yep.
I mean, we import 47% of our aluminum from other countries. We import 23% of our steel from other countries. And we simply don't have the capacity to supply our companies with enough steel and aluminum. So now they're all going to have to pay 50% more starting tomorrow.
Do you think he's going to cave on this as well? It will be another Taco Trump story, or do you think he's actually going to implement this tomorrow, Ron?
I think if we weren't all talking about Taco Trump over the last week, he would cave. But I think that this is almost like, that's the beauty of this, the effectiveness of this Taco campaign is it almost dares him to cave. You know, it bothers him so much that people are calling him chicken and chicken out and back down. There's nothing Trump hates more than to be made fun of and to made a mockery of and to be called weak. So this campaign almost backs him into a corner politically where, you know, he can't back down without looking like a complete fool. The idea was that this should make him think twice about announcing tariffs in the first place, but instead he went ahead and did it again. So yeah. I'm going to say that he's not going to back down right away, but he's going to back down fairly soon on this because there's a lot of companies complaining about this one. This one really blindsided a lot of CEOs with big companies. Think of car manufacturers. So many of them import their steel. So,
yeah. Well, before I let you go, I wanted to ask you about Laura Loomer. I know you speak with her from time to time. Me and Laura don't really get along on social media, but this story comes out that she apparently had a meeting with J.D. Vance, and Caroline Levette confirmed that today, where they had a conversation. I'm wondering, with a woman like Laura Loomer, who is a self-admitted Islamophobe, who's a 9/11 conspiracy theorist, what does it say about the White House that she is invited there to have some sort of meeting with the vice president? What are your thoughts on this?
Not announced either. You know, this was leaked. She didn't announce it. And so, you know, she likes to brag or, you know, toot her own horn and promote herself relentlessly. And she didn't say anything about this meeting. So that tells you that something weird's going on here. It probably means that, you know, she wants to unload some dirt on people inside the Trump administration who she's found stuff out about. Because remember last time she had a meeting at the White House, they ended up firing like half the staff at the National Security Council.
Right.
So, I mean, her thing is she usually digs in and finds statements that somebody may have made in the past against Trump or donations they may have made to Democrats in the past or something like that. And she will present that to Trump's people. And I think, though, curious, why is she meeting with Vance? Because I think that Susie Wiles, Trump's chief of staff, hates Laura Loomer and is the gatekeeper and has basically laid down the edict that she does not want Laura Loomer in the Oval Office. So she has to go meet with the vice president instead.
Would have been interesting to be, an ear on the wall somewhere and be able to listen to what they talked about. I would have to bring up Mike Lindell before I let you go because, you know, he made some really wacky comments, as he always does, by the way. But yesterday outside the courtroom, talking about Satan. Satan is the reason why he's in the position he's in. But, Ron, I do find it interesting that his own attorney in a courtroom basically said, yeah, my client doesn't know what he's talking about the 2020 claim that the election was stolen, because not only are they not presenting any evidence about it, but his own attorney is on the record in a courtroom saying that it's all words and all Lindell did was talk, meaning he doesn't know what he's talking about. He lied. None of it is true. His own attorney basically said that in a courtroom.
Yeah, I mean, what he said was that what Lindell said was not correct, was not accurate, but Lindell sincerely believed that it was. that's his defense. So, I mean, you know, this is Rudy Giuliani all over again. This is exactly what happened in Rudy Giuliani's defamation trial against the Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss, the election workers in Georgia, where, you know, Rudy's outside the courthouse and doing interviews and doing podcasts saying, I'm going in there and we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And this is our defense. And then like his lawyers would get in there and do the opposite, you know, because here's the thing. When you're in a courtroom, I mean, you as a lawyer, your bar license is on the line and you can't present evidence that is not permitted or not legal or dumb that's going to hurt your client. And so you have an ethical obligation to do that. So So these lawyers representing these guys are simply not willing to set their bar cards on fire for them. So it's this, the weird part about it is like they're in there trying to do their job properly while their clients are outside catering to their MAGA faithful, their MAGA cult, where they've got to lie to the cult and say, oh, you know, we're saying this, we're doing this in the courtroom, because there's no cameras, so they don't know, you know, while meantime, what's happening in the courtroom is something completely different.
Speaking of the courtroom, though, what did you make of Menendez going on social media and basically kissing the ass of Donald Trump and attacking Joe Biden and Democrats? I mean, I think we know why he's doing that, because obviously he wants a pardon, right? He got sentenced to many years behind bars. But is it a shock to you at all that he's doing this now, that he's going after the Democrats and calling it the Joe Biden DOJ? He's claiming that Democrats are the ones that went after him, and it was the Biden DOJ, and just trying to kiss Trump's ass, trying to get a pardon.
I was less surprised by him doing that than I was at Michael Cohen, who did something similar. So Menendez is just a snake. I mean, he's just a scum of the earth. And so he was already sort of angling for a pardon a few months ago. So no, I wasn't surprised. I don't think it's going to work with Trump. I don't think Trump cares about Menendez very much. I mean, he's trying to do the Rod Blago, the ex-governor of Illinois, did this, you know, who was a former Democrat, who kind of went full MAGA and started praising Trump and ended up getting a pardon. But I don't think he's going to do it with Menendez, because they're very focused on winning New Jersey next year, winning the governorship there. And I don't think he wants to do anything to hurt the Republicans in New Jersey by pulling a move like this, which would be very unpopular in that state at a time that they're trying to win it. But you know, the Michael Cohen thing, he also has applied for a pardon with the Trump administration. Right. And he has cited the fact that, bizarrely, he cited the fact that he said Joe Biden was not competent enough to weigh his pardon application correctly. So it's almost like he's calling Joe Biden senile to try and get Trump to like him again. I don't know. It's bizarre. I mean, we had a conversation last night about it, because, you know, he has a podcast with us, and so I can say it was pretty disappointing, whatever he's trying to do here. And I don't think it's going to work. There's no way Trump is going to forgive Michael Cohen. No way. No, I mean, but I think somewhere in his head, maybe he thinks that. I don't know.
Yeah, it's not going to work. I agree with you. Since we're talking about pardons, I'm going to give you two names. Do you think they're going to get a pardon? And I do speak to George Santos on occasion. We text each other back and forth. He's getting very worried. Joe Exotic, who's been in the news a lot lately, and George Santos. Do you think these two get a pardon?
Well, Exotic, no, because he doesn't have any money. So that's his problem, is that, you know, what can he do for Trump? Like, how does he help Trump? Is there anybody out there who's like a grassroots big supporter in the MAGA movement of Joe Exotic getting a pardon? I mean, Don Jr. joked about it a while ago, but he wasn't serious. So there's just nobody out there. I mean, he's a gay guy who's married to an illegal immigrant who just got deported. Right. So there's not a lot of MAGA appeal there for Joe. So that's, I'm going to say no on Exotic. Santos, I'm going to say no on Santos.
Really?
I'm going to say no, but I think that that Trump is certainly thinking about it, and some of his people in Santos definitely has some allies in Trump world, that are people that are close to Trump that like Santos, including Laura Loomer, by the way, who likes George Santos. So there are people around Trump who like him. I just don't know if he's going to do it again, because I've said in the past, you know, the people who are his victims are very high roller Republican donors. Right. And so I think they're going to put in some calls to make sure Trump doesn't do that.
I think that's a good point. We'll have to wait and see what happens. What article are you working on today on your Substack that people can check out?
Yeah, you know, it's funny. I had had something going that I thought I was going to put out, and then Elon Musk made the statement that he made. So I had to kind of drop everything and reconfigure what I was doing. So now I'm really focused on getting all the Republican reaction, positive and negative, because if there is a clean break and a split between Musk and Trump moving forward, I mean, that's huge. That's seismic.
Ron, what was that on his eye? Like, are you buying the fact that he got into he told his kid to punch him in the face? Or do you think that could have been something that happened in the White House? What is up with his eye? And it looks like, listen, I don't like to speculate. We know that Elon Musk has had drug issues in the past. It appears as though, at least in the Oval Office, it looked like he was on something. And again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. It looked like he was out there and he was on something. He looked like he was just roughed up. I don't know. What do you make of that?
I mean, I was a lawyer who represented drug addicts for 29 years. So I know when I see one, had thousands of them in my office. He was high as a freaking kite. I mean, he certainly appeared that way. Gave every indication that he was. So the black eye, I mean, I thought what was curious about that was the story broke the day before that Stephen Miller's wife was leaving the White House staff with Elon Musk to work for Elon Musk as his personal assistant. Mm-hmm. And we all know Elon Musk's reputation with going after and impregnating women in his orbit. So that story breaks that like Stephen Miller's wife is leaving the White House to go work for Musk. And then the next day Musk shows up with a black eye. So my whole thing is like, can we get a photo of Stephen Miller's knuckles to see if, any of them have some cuts on them? But, I don't know. I don't think Stephen Miller has enough courage to hit anybody, but I think that, I mean, I don't believe the story that his 5-year-old hit him. I don't buy that. I think that he probably ran into something or fell down or something like that, as many people on drugs do.
I tend to agree with you on that one. I did not know that Stephen Miller's wife was hanging out with Elon Musk, possibly working for him. I'm sure that'll go very well. But
that is happening, right? That has already happened. Yeah,
shocking. I guess we shouldn't be shocked at anything. But
Amy Miller. Yeah,
we'll see how long that one. We'll see how long that one lasts. But anyway, Ron, always a pleasure, my friend. I know we kept you a little late today. I appreciate your time as always. Keep up the good work. We will catch up with you next week. All right. I know you'll have plenty to write about today. All right. Take care. See you, Ron. Yeah. Appreciate it. Ron Philipowski, everybody from Midas Touch, joining us. Very, very interesting stuff. I did not know that I didn't personally know that Stephen Miller's wife is apparently Elon Musk's personal assistant. Could that have something to do with his eye? I don't know. It's pure speculation. What I will tell you, and what Ron just told you, which I think is pretty accurate, is that he looked like he was high. He looked like he was on drugs when he was in the Oval Office the other day and holding that press conference with Donald Trump. He looked like he was certainly on something. Now, we can't confirm that. Obviously, that's speculation. But just go ahead and take a look at that press conference. Look at the way he was talking and the way he was acting. Things have deteriorated very badly between Elon Musk and the Trump administration. So, again, we'll have to wait and see how this takes place. And I think what we're going to do is we're also going to take some phone calls. We've been talking about a lot of different topics here the first hour or so of the program. So let me just run that down for you, and then we'll open up the phone lines and we'll take some phone calls, okay? So, in the first segment, we talked about Caroline Levette's press conference. And we talked about, again, lying as usual. That's, not unusual. But Peter Ducey asking the question about the Biden auto pen. And, Caitlin Collins asking about, the deficit and this new big, beautiful bill that'll likely add $5 to $6 trillion over the course of the next couple of years. Ron Johnson and Rand Paul disagree with the White House that this is going to lower the deficit, cut the deficit. She didn't really have an answer to that one, just that they're wrong. A joke within the administration about it being hurricane season. She waved that one off as well. She attacked the Washington Post. Really absolutely absurd and ridiculous. And now the big news of the day, I guess you could say, is Elon Musk trashing Donald Trump's budget bill. So we're talking about that as well. We're opening up the phone lines at 702-221-7283. I do want to get to the YouTube Super Chat now, if I may, because there are some people that are making some generous donations, and your questions and comments will be heard in the YouTube Super Chat. You could also go to the website, which is pushingthelimits.live. Heraniga says the Russian proposal was given via the Turkish delegates, and not one of the documents are being signed as official because they are illegal from the international law point of view. Yeah, well, there's certainly a lot of propaganda going around from Russia. We appreciate your support, by the way. Thank you. And, Donald Trump's Caroline Levette was asked about that today, and the answer she gave was pretty pathetic about the Russia and the Ukrainian strikes. No Money says, Brian, did you hear about MAGA nut Dylan Oz of OKC calling for the deletion of all the gays in the U.S. and his supporters clapping for it? I did not see that. If you find us that audio, I will certainly look it up and I will certainly play it. Does that surprise me? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Thank you, Shelley, for your donation. Says, why the heck is Loomer in the White House to begin with? Plus, the steelworkers are getting screwed big time. Yes, they are, Shelley, especially if this is implemented, these 50% tariffs that are going to be going into effect when it comes to steel. You're absolutely right. And I completely agree with you. Number to call, by the way, if you want to be a part of the conversation, 702-221-7283. Your questions and comments will be heard in the YouTube Super Chat. Also checking out the website, pushingthelimits.live. It is one of the most interactive shows in the Valley. There's a reason for that. And your chance to chime in right now. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this with your phone calls. Don't go away. In 90 seconds, we'll be right back. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Have you ever dreamed of having your own radio show or a podcast, but just didn't think it was possible? Well, dreams can come true. Radio U. Radio U is a 5-day course that'll teach you how to acquire your dream show. We'll teach you how to host, how to interview, how to market, how to write a contract, and most importantly, how to monetize your dream radio show. You'll learn from some of the best in the business with over 75 years in broadcast experience. You'll learn from people like me. And the best part, every single student will be live on the radio as part of the class. Plus, one student from each class will get their very own radio show. You'll be live on the air right here in Las Vegas. Radio U. The 5-day course is being offered at $699. For more information, give Radio U a call, 702-763-5024. That's 702-763-5024. Or check them out at radioyou101.com.
You are way too smart, way too talented, way too good to be where you are. You are meant to be making way more money, feel way hotter in your body, and having way more fun. Hi. I'm Nicole Mitchell, and I'm a life coach. I help you get hotter and richer. If that is what you're looking for, you can find me at NicoleMitchell.com. My name, Nicole, is with a K, NicoleMitchell.com. You can reach out to me on my website or on Instagram, and I will be happy to be in touch and figure out what you're looking for and how I can support you in getting there.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Tuesday. We appreciate you guys for joining us, PTL Nation. We're on the YouTube Super Chat. Thank you, Tasuda, for your support. Also, the website, which is pushingthelimits.live. So I haven't had this guy on in a while. He is a right-wing pundit, pretty popular on social media. His name is Carmine Sabia. He has agreed to come on the show tomorrow. We are going to have an all-it-out, duke-it-out debate on the air tomorrow. So certainly looking forward to that. Trust me when I say you're not going to want to miss it. Also on the show tomorrow, he has officially said that he is turning to the Democrat Party. I can't believe I'm saying this. I told Joe Walsh to do this a couple of years ago. Joe Walsh is now officially going to be a Democrat. I can't believe it. He's a lifelong Republican. He is now turning to the Democrat Party. Maybe he'll be running for office. I like Joe a lot. I would vote for the guy, even though I don't agree with some of his policies or when it comes to gun control or abortion. I like Joe Walsh. I think he's a good guy. And he officially announced today, and he texted me about it today, that he has officially become a Democrat. He is going to be a registered Democrat. I can't. If you had told me Joe Walsh is going to be a Democrat 7 or 8 years ago, I would have said you're absolutely crazy. But yes, that's right. Joe Walsh is officially a registered Democrat. He made the announcement this morning. I think he has some aspirations of running for office. I'm telling you right now that I would vote for the guy. I like Joe a lot. He was wrong 6 or 7 years ago. He supported Donald Trump. He was wrong. He's admitted that he was wrong. We need more people like Joe Walsh to be Democrats. Now, obviously, he's going to be a moderate Democrat. Obviously, we have disagreements perhaps on gun control and abortion and some other issues. But Joe Walsh is a decent man. He's a good man. He's on the right side of history. And Joe Walsh is going to bring in that fight that I think the Democrat Party needs. Guy needs to get back into office. I would vote for Joe Walsh. I like Joe Walsh. Good man. Again, don't always agree with him, but that's big news. Joe Walsh officially announcing today he is going to be a Democrat, and I think that's big news. I didn't think Joe would do that. I'd be honest. I've known Joe for years. We've been friends for 5, 6, 7 years, and I didn't think Joe would actually turn. But I told him, I said, listen, you need to run for office as a Democrat. I told him that. Is he really a Democrat at heart? Probably not. But I think he also is truthful when he says he feels disowned by the Republican Party, and he's very unhappy with where the Republican Party is at. There's nothing phony about Joe. I can tell you that right now. He didn't flip on Trump because he's phony or because he wanted to run as a Democrat. He flipped on Trump because he cares about our democracy. So I'm all for Joe, and I think it was a ballsy move on his part. I don't know whether he'll be able to win any race as a Democrat, but I think he should run for president again, and I certainly think he could win. At least I hope so. So we'll get Joe Walsh on the show tomorrow as well to talk about that. That's big news. All right, number to call 702-221-7283. And before I get to the phone calls, we want to thank our sponsors, Bloody Shirt. It's bloody-shirt.com. I should say, is that a dash? I think that's what you would call a dash, right? Bloody-shirt.com. So if you've never heard of Bloody Shirt, they are protest apparel, very anti-Donald Trump like me. And it's ammunition to ridicule Trump and some of his supporters. They're very funny. They're about freedom of speech without fear, and they offer compelling designs on 100% cotton T-shirts, $45, hoodies are $60, and the proceeds will help fund the resistance. They have a ton of very entertaining shirts to choose from. Trust me, just take a look at it. It doesn't cost you anything. Bloody-shirt.com, or excuse me, dash. I keep saying slash. Bloody-shirt.com. Very funny designs, and I think you'll enjoy them. Please take a look and check it out. All right, let's get right to the phone calls at 702-221-SAVE. Again, that number is 702-221-7283. Let's go to Oscar. Oscar is next on PTL. What's up, Oscar?
Hello, Brian. How are you?
Hey, doing good, Oscar. What's on your mind today?
Yes, what's on my mind is today we had a debate between two African Americans, one Hispanic, which was me, and two Trump supporters. Sometimes, I don't know what kind of land these people live, what kind of planet. They can be real super, super ignorant. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And they don't check facts. I checked the facts on the Republican side and on the Democrat side. But I'm always, once I get my citizenship, I'm going to be a Democrat for life. I can tell. You know what I mean?
Can I ask you though? Speaking of that, what do you think of somebody like Joe Walsh becoming a registered Democrat? I'm just curious what your thoughts are on that.
Well, I think the man is looking at BS. So he doesn't want to betray the people that support him, his constituents. He doesn't want to betray them. That's one of the reasons why, he had to make a change, I believe. So I saw that on CNN. I was watching. I follow politics every day. So I think the man is true to his heart. You know what I'm saying?
Agree. Yeah.
So he can't live with that. Just like the same for Ron Paul. Ron Paul probably won't get reelected because, he voted against it and he's against it. And then Donald Trump is attacking him.
Yeah.
But, but all the people that supported Ron Paul, if they're smart, they're going to support him and reelect him because he's the only one that has had the balls to stand up to Donald Trump so far.
Yeah, listen, I'll be honest with you. I'm not a big Rand Paul fan. I don't think he's a good guy, but I agree with him on this situation when it comes to this big, beautiful bill.
That's what I'm saying, because I don't like him either. I mean, if you tell me I hate the man, but I love the fact that he's not trying to betray the people that put him in the position where
I'll give him credit. I'll give him credit for that. I agree with you. And I'm not a Ron Johnson fan either, but I will give him credit for this as well. I wonder why it took him this long to oppose anything that Donald Trump has said or done or trying to pass, but we will see. Listen, they haven't voted yet, okay? So that'll be the proof in the pudding.
Look at Joni Ernstein.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? She looked real stupid on her town, on her town
Yeah, she looked
meeting.
terrible.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, she looked terrible. But
So
but
they're
that,
trying
yeah.
to wash it off for Donald Trump. They can't do it no more.
It's not going to work.
Especially when
Yeah.
people start suffering.
I agree.
You know what I'm saying?
I agree, Oscar, and I appreciate your call, my friend. Thank you so much. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. Let's go to Dave. Dave is next up on PTL. Hey, Dave, what's going on?
Hey, how you doing? Thanks for taking my call, by
Sure.
the way. All right. Here's the thing. Remember I mentioned this before about these people that are the Republicans are going to try to switch over to independent, trying to go into Democrat. Don't fall for that bullshit, please.
Okay,
Please don't fall for that.
All right, let's talk about that. I think it's a good conversation to have. So what if, okay, let me just speak to Joe Walsh because I know Joe Walsh personally, lifelong Republican. He's been anti-Donald Trump for 6 years now, 5-6 years, very outspoken against Donald Trump. Why is it that you think it's BS, and why would you call it that if Joe Walsh feels like he's been abandoned by the Republican Party?
Perfect. Thanks for asking me. I got a good answer for you.
Mm-hmm.
Remember the guy that was a Democrat, a Republican, or was a Democrat, then he went over to Republican. He was the House Speaker, and he tried to get voted in 5 times, and they did, and after the 6th times or something like that. Remember him?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Remember he became the House Speaker. He wanted to become the House Speaker so bad. And remember that, and then all of a sudden he used to be a Democrat for California. What's his name? The blonde head guy?
I know who you're
California?
talking. Yeah, I know who you're speaking of, but here's what I know the point you're trying to make. And I'm not saying that some politicians don't do that. I'm with you. I just don't think Joe Walsh is doing that. I don't think it doesn't benefit Joe Walsh, really. There's a lot of Democrats that won't vote for Joe Walsh because he has Republican views when it comes to abortion and guns, for example. But I truly feel like, and you can tell me whether you disagree or not, okay, Dave, but I truly feel, knowing Joe as well as I know him pretty well, that he's not doing this to get personal gain. He's doing this because he feels abandoned by the Republican Party because he's spoken out against Donald Trump. And I think the Democrats, if they were smart about things, they would accept him and say, okay, we don't agree with you on a lot of issues, but at least you're willing to talk
I
with us
would beg to differ to that because the reason for that is because you heard the old saying that your closest friend can be your worst enemy.
Mm-hmm.
You heard that old saying? It's true.
In some cases.
It's like once a cheater is always a cheater. It's like.
Do you feel that way about Liz Cheney and Dick Cheney?
What's that?
Do you feel that way about Liz Cheney and Dick Cheney? They supported Kamala
Liz
Harris.
Cheney. Well, Liz Cheney did something that dramatically, like the other Republican member that they voted to impeach him.
Mm-hmm.
What's his name? The good-looking one at Chicago. Remember him? The one that's in Chicago, senator, but he's no longer there. If I could say that with all respect.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Liz Cheney is a beautiful lady that she did a great job to impeach him. Plus, the other guy impeached him too.
You're talking about Adam Kinzinger?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So he did a good job by impeaching him because he doesn't like Trump. But the fact of the matter is, to give this other guy the benefit of the doubt, and this other House Speaker who basically tried to get voted in like 5-6 times and became a House Speaker.
All right. Well, here's the thing.
Then they decided to out him.
I hear what you're saying, but let's backtrack a little bit here because it's an interesting conversation, and I think we disagree on this, which is fine. I like these conversations. We both want the same thing. We want good people in office. Isn't it possible that people, though, can change their mind? Isn't it possible that it's not always an ulterior motive that they might have, that they might feel abandoned by the Republican Party? I have friends of mine that feel that they've been abandoned by the Republican Party. Can it just be possible that not everybody, but some people, maybe they're switching their party because they truly are anti-Donald Trump and they don't like where the Republican Party stands today? Can't that be possible?
Okay, but you got to understand. There's a good statement that's always been said by a CEO. You got to find out what's the motive behind the motive, and then I don't take chances with anybody because I know that when I voted for Barack Obama, I could wake up in the morning in good hands, knowing the fact that he's controlling this country.
Sure.
And I voted for him twice because he's such one of the best president of all time since John F. Kennedy.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll tell you one thing. I don't like these Republicans at all. And I don't like that they can,
All right, well, help me understand.
They shake your hand with one hand, they stab you in the back
with
another hand.
I understand.
I don't like that. I just don't like that.
I understand what you're saying. There's a lot of Republicans that I don't like either. Let's just try to focus on Joe Walsh for a moment. What has Joe Walsh done in the last 6 or 7 years where you say, boy, I really don't like that. That makes him a really bad dude. Now, I understand back in the day, he supported Donald Trump, but he flipped on him pretty fast. And he was one of the first Republicans to go public and say, I don't like what this man is doing. He's a threat to our democracy. He was one of the, so wouldn't we give somebody like Joe Walsh, even if you don't want him to be a Democrat, wouldn't we give somebody like Joe Walsh a little bit of credit, knowing for literally the last 6 or 7 years, he has been blasting Donald Trump every day on national television?
Yeah, like I said, but you know something? I'll tell you one thing. I always tell myself, and I always tell myself, I always give people the benefit of the doubt. But when you step over me, then I lose all respect.
Okay, but that's
and
what
you know something? It takes a long time for me to respect you.
I get it. Again, I understand where you're coming from. All I'm simply saying is this. You know where I stand on all the issues. I don't agree with Joe Walsh on a number of different issues, but on the most important fundamental issues, I agree with Joe Walsh on democracy, right? Freedom of speech, treating everybody with respect, regardless of sexual orientation or the color of one's skin. Yes, I disagree on some policy issues when it comes to abortion and gun control, but I don't think Joe Walsh is a bad guy. And I think he's doing this for the right reasons, because he feels abandoned by the Republican Party because he's been speaking out against Donald Trump. Do you consider that stepping over you, for lack of a better term? That's the term that you used.
But see, he exactly. But he was abandoned by the Republican Party, but so did we. But the other guy that was a House Speaker, he basically abandoned the Democratic Party. The guy who's a senator, the one who was trying to be the senator. You know who he is.
Yeah, I know.
He abandoned the Democratic Party.
All
too.
I'm saying is,
are you kidding me, dude?
I hear you, and in some ways, I agree with you. All I'm saying is, I think it's important to have I'm not saying you don't have an open mind. All I'm saying is, nobody's perfect. They could admit when they made a mistake. Heck, I didn't vote for Hillary Clinton in 2016. I didn't vote for Trump either because I didn't like either of them. That was a mistake. I owned it. People, if they own their mistakes, and Joe Walsh has certainly owned his mistakes. There was a time where he supported Donald Trump. I just feel like as a country, we can't agree.
It's kind of hard, man. You know something? It's like saying that it's like saying that if you work for a job, if you work for CNN, you get fired and you're begging for your job back. Don't expect to get your job back. I'm sorry. I just can't. You got to face the music. Sometimes you got to pay for your, sometimes you got to pay your consequences, you got to pay your,
I think Walsh has. I think Walsh has. And I think it hurt him politically doing what he's done. But all I would say is, I feel like we're wrapped up in, we have to agree with everything a politician says or does. I think there's a far cry between that. I'm going to disagree with Joe Walsh on some issues, but fundamentally, at least for me, is, are you a decent human being? Will you own the mistakes that you made? And right now, are you on the right side of history? And Joe Walsh, like
I said, I will tell you one thing, Brian. I mean, even though that we beg to differ, we agree to disagree, on this one item. But I'll tell you one thing, like I said, if this person gets in and he wants to be voted in for the Democratic Party, and then all of a sudden he stabs the Democratic Party behind their back, and then all of a sudden
that's different.
You know what I'm saying?
Then I'll be the first
then
one.
We're going to hold people accountable.
Okay.
Hey, you like this person?
Okay, but here's the thing.
I didn't.
I consider stabbing the Democrats in the back. No, it's to me, it's stabbing America in the back. Okay, if you disagree with the Democrats on policy, I wouldn't consider that stabbing them in the back. If he starts to promote Donald Trump as a Democrat, and if he starts to promote, people getting deported without due process, then I'd be with you. That would be an example of that. I think we should give him a chance.
I'm just using as a no pun intended kind of deal.
But here's the thing: to people out there like you, okay, and it's a good conversation. But to people out there like you that are very skeptical, I think that would be a fair word to describe your feelings on Joe Walsh. Here's what I would say to that. Okay, my opinion on this is as follows: is that give him a chance to prove himself, and if he doesn't. And if he makes a lot of mistakes along the way, okay, then let's call him out for that. All I'm simply saying is he's on the right side of history now. Give him a chance. He's on the right side of history. By the way, he's not somebody that just flipped a day ago or a week ago. He's been like this for 6 or 7 years. Joe Walsh has been very consistent the last 6 or 7 years, his feelings on the Republican Party. Here's one thing that I will tell you. He knows how to fight. Many in the Democrat Party need to learn that. They're not fighters. Joe Walsh can teach them how to fight. You need more Jasmine Crockett's in there. I can tell you right now, nobody can take this away from Joe Walsh. He's a fighter. The Democrats could use a little bit of that.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I'll be honest with you, Brian. But even though if he's trying to run for president or trying to run for president, if that's what he's trying to go or whatever, he's going to run for president. He's got a fighting chance against Gavin Newsom because Gavin, to be honest with you, might have a better chance to win California. He's not going to win California over 50
I'm going to tell you,
votes. I guarantee you that much.
I hear you, my friend. And I listen, I appreciate the conversation. I can tell you right now.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It's a good conversation. I can tell you right now, I think it's going to be J.D. Vance versus Gavin Newsom. If you ask me right now, I would tell you that those are the front runners for the left and the right. Like it or not, that's who we're up against. I'm not a big Gavin Newsom fan. Obviously, I would vote for him over J.D. Vance. That wouldn't even be an afterthought for me. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. If you want to be a part of the conversation, MAGA callers always welcome. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. Who do we got next? We have Kim, who's next up on PTL. Hi, Kim. What's going on? Hi, Kim. Go right ahead. Kim, are you there?
Yeah.
Hi, Kim.
I've been listening to you for, 2 or 3 months now.
Okay. Can you do me a favor and lower your? Can you do me
for-
a huge favor and lower your radio because we can hear it in the background and there's a little bit of a delay. Thank you,
Hang
Kim.
on.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Kim. Yeah, we have a little bit of delay here.
Okay.
Thank you, Kim. Okay, go
So
right.
I've been listening to you for a little while now. This is the second time I've called in.
Okay.
But all these people, the MAGAs, did you happen to see Biden's last speech before he left office?
Yes, I did.
Okay, he warned the whole world about this before he left. He was talking about this administration going to be an oligarchy. Well, you need to inform your listeners exactly what that means, because I think most of them don't even have a clue, because that's exactly what Russia is. And he's trying to make us the next communist country.
Well, Kim, I hear what you're saying, and I would also say, Kim, that there's a lot of other Democrats that were also, let's be honest, warning us about the dangers of Donald Trump and his regime. You're right. Joe Biden was certainly one of them, but there are others that were doing the same. I could tell you, I, for one, on the radio was warning everybody about the oligarchy. I didn't think it was going to be as bad as it is, and the dictatorship, Kim. But there's no question. We talk about this every day. Joe Biden was right. I also have my criticisms with Joe Biden. I feel like Joe Biden should have stepped down much sooner. I think it hurts his legacy. I think it was part of the reason why Donald Trump won. Kamala Harris, the Democrats didn't have enough time. But listen, we can go back in Monday morning quarterback. The bottom line is Joe Biden was a decent president. He's a decent man. He certainly made his mistakes, and he did warn us, just as many other Democrats have as well. Thank you for the call, my dear. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Cheryl. Cheryl is next up on PTL. Hey, Cheryl, what's going on?
Hi. I have a question. I don't know the answer to this, so I could be wrong.
Okay.
But I understand what you're saying about Joe Walsh and that he speaks out against Trump. He has for many, many years. But for me, it's what is his voting record? Because it seems like we never see Republicans not voting the party line. So I don't know how he's voted, to be honest, but if he is continually voting with the other Republicans, that's what speaks to me.
Well, he hasn't been a congressman for a little while. I vote a little bit differently than others, and I only speak for myself on this. I think, number one, are you a decent human being? Joe Walsh is. He's a good family man.
Right.
He's a good husband. He's a good person. That's most important to me. That's number one. Number two, are you on the right side of history? He has been for the last 6 or 7 years, speaking out against Donald Trump. I don't think you can find a more staunch voice, louder voice than Joe Walsh. He's been speaking out against Donald Trump almost since day one. I mean, he supported Donald Trump, and then he flipped on him when he realized the dangers and the threat that Donald Trump was to our democracy. So that's number two. Those are the first two most important check marks. Number three, we're not going to agree with everything. And when I say we, I'm a registered independent, but I certainly lean to the left on social issues. We're not going to agree on everything,
Right.
but Joe Walsh agrees with me on the most important fundamental issues, which are equality. He does not believe that if a woman is raped or the victim of incest, she should be forced to have that baby. He calls himself pro-life, but he is not an extremist when it comes to that issue. He also is one of those people that is not anti-gay marriage, which I think is important. He doesn't treat people differently based on sexuality or the color of skin. That's also very important. He doesn't have bigoted views. Now, we might not agree with Joe Walsh on some things. We might not agree with Joe Walsh on gun control. Me and Joe have had arguments about that or debates when it comes to gun control. I don't agree with him on every policy issue. But Joe Walsh has never been a MAGA Republican. Joe Walsh has never been an extreme far-right Republican. I think he's always been more, at least in my opinion, of a moderate Republican when it comes to tax breaks for the rich. Joe Walsh is not tax breaks for the top 1%. He's okay with raising minimum wage. So he's not an extreme far-right Republican. At least he certainly isn't now. You're not going to agree with him on everything. But he's a fight. But he's a fighter. He's a fighter.
But how does he vote?
Well, I think he votes along. I wouldn't say he votes along party lines, but he votes. He votes. I'm like I said, I'm against some of his opinions when it comes to gun control. I'm against some of his opinions on some key issues. But I think the most important fundamental issues I agree with him on. And I think one of the biggest problems that I think in general people make is they only want to vote for a politician if they agree with them 100% of the time. I don't agree with any politician 100% of the time. And I'm not saying you do that. All I'm saying is think about it. He's a decent man. He's a good family man. He is very anti-MAGA Republican, very anti-Donald Trump. He cherishes our democracy, and he's a fighter. I think the Democrats should certainly bring him in. And I think I'd be very interested to see what will happen when he runs as Democrat, which I'll ask him about tomorrow if he's going to run for president. But very, very interesting, because think about it this way. He can also lure in and bring in some moderate Republicans that are anti-Donald Trump. So that's interesting to me. That's all.
No.
That make any sense?
It does.
Okay.
It does. I just want him to vote how he talks. So,
well,
yeah.
I think he does. And listen,
it's like Sue Collins doesn't. Susan Collins.
No, she doesn't.
She's a Democrat and then flips.
Well, she's a phony. She's a phony. I don't think Joe Walsh is a phony. I've known him for 6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
that goes a long way for me. It really does, because I've been listening to you for a long time.
Yeah. Well, listen, I appreciate that.
It means a lot to me.
I appreciate that. Listen, Joe Walsh has been doing my show for years. He's always been very He's always been very consistent and honest with me. We don't always agree, but one thing we've always agreed on is Donald Trump. He has been anti-Donald Trump for years. In fact, he was one of the first staunch Republicans that spoke out against Donald Trump, and he has not wavered since. So I think that's something that we need to at least respect, especially when you're a lifelong Republican, my dear. Just think about that and call me back, and we'll have Joe.
I will.
All right, thank you. Thank you, my dear. And we'll have Joe Walsh on the show tomorrow. He's scheduled to come on tomorrow. If you're just joining us, Joe Walsh announcing that he is officially a Democrat. He's joining the Democrat Party. Now, whether that means he'll be running for president as a Democrat, I don't know. We'll ask him that tomorrow. He hasn't answered that yet. He'll answer it tomorrow on the show. We were texting a little bit earlier today. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Again, 702-221-SAVE. Let's go to Mark. Mark is next on PTL. What's up, Mark?
Good afternoon, Brian.
Hey.
I wasn't even going to mention Joe Walsh, but since it was brought up, running as a Democrat but still with the ideas of a moderate Republican doesn't work. We don't need another Christian Cinema or a Joe Manchin. All right, and that's what I'm figuring that he's going to be like. He's going to side with the Democrats, but he's going to stop voting along moderate Republican.
But I think
agenda.
I think Joe Manchin is an opportunist. I don't think Joe Walsh is. That's where I disagree with you.
Yeah, but I don't think the Democrats can take a chance on this guy, especially if they have like a 1-seat advantage.
So what are their options right now? What is the Democrats' identity right now?
Well, to tell you the truth, I don't even think there's going to be elections.
Okay,
but I'm just commenting because it was brought up.
Well, let's assume that there will be elections. Are you happy with Hakeem Jeffries? Are you happy with Chuck Schumer? Are you happy with Nancy Pelosi? Are you
absolutely not?
Are you happy with
geriatrics?
Okay, so maybe they need to make some change, Mark. Maybe there needs to take a chance and do something different to mix it up. If you don't agree with it, that's fine. You're entitled to your opinion. I just respectfully disagree with you. They need to make changes.
I want to talk about real quick. Do you remember a while back when Doge started taking over all these different buildings and stuff, and they were showing the people that were running it, and the kids were like dancing around, and
yes, I do.
One was selling her clothes from the office. Well, yesterday, the U.S. Institute of Peace office was given back properly to the people who were running it. Doge left it, and the workers came in and they took pictures, and it was on MSNBC. There was water damage, rats, roaches, and they found pot in all the offices. And this is what they've done to all the different agencies that they have taken over.
Yeah.
It was kids basically running the place.
Yeah.
Now, one more thing, and I'll let you like to hear how you think about this. They're making a big deal over this auto pen that Biden was using.
Yep.
First of all, there's no law against it. And secondly, why not just say tough? You don't like Biden using the auto pen? Too effing bad. The way these Republicans make a big deal out of nothing, and all the crap they're doing, and they say it's no big deal with the insurrection, they're making a big deal of an auto pen. You know what? Democrats own up to and say, yeah, big deal. He used it. Go to hell.
Yeah,
That's
well,
how I feel about it.
I tend to agree with you. It's not really a tops on my mind or most Americans, Mark. So I certainly tend to agree with you on that. But yeah, it's so much so that Peter Ducey shows up with props, claiming that they were using some sort of auto pen. But meanwhile, there are so many Americans in this country that are struggling, living paycheck to paycheck. But they want to talk about the auto pen, and Caroline Levette wants to talk about the Washington Post and some headline that they didn't like. I mean, it's utterly absurd. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the program. Let's go to Keith. Keith is next up on PTL. Hey, Keith, what's going on?
Hey,
Keith.
Brian.
Hey, what's up?
I got some facts for you. Actually, first off, I got some facts for Caroline Levette. Year to date, according to CBP, there have been 415 fentanyl interdictions at the border, compared to 5,500 egg interdictions. And secondly, Harvard not only rejected Barron, but they rejected Trump because he offered them an endowment to get Barron in there, and they said, go pound sand.
Yeah, well, we all know that happened with Harvard, and Trump is an extremely vindictive person. As far as, the numbers that Caroline, the lying bitch Levette, and that's what I'm going to continue to call her, and I don't care whether people like it or not. She claims that egg prices are down 60% since day one. That's a blatant lie. That's 100% not true. Again, they're the same people that blame Joe Biden for the high egg prices. But then when Trump gets in office, all of a sudden they want to talk about bird flu. They talk about how drugs, first of all, the overwhelming majority of illegal drugs that come into this country come through legal ports of entry through American citizens. But again, Caroline Levette doesn't want to talk about that. And every single time something happens in this country, and it happens to be somebody who is an undocumented or illegal immigrant that commits a crime, they harp on it. But then when it's a white supremacist American citizen, like those who beat police officers on January 6th, somehow they're patriots and hostages. You have a better chance of being the victim of a crime if you are a legal citizen than if you are an undocumented immigrant. But if you keep listening to the White House, they will make it sound like the only people that are committing crimes in this country are undocumented immigrants that are minorities. That is not true, and it is also a lie. They keep talking about the rule of law, but yet Donald Trump doesn't respect the rule of law, and they defy the Supreme Court, and they break our own Constitution. So everything that comes out of Caroline, the lying bitch Levette's mouth, is a lie. It's disingenuous, and all they do is try to attack Joe Biden, blame Joe Biden for all of their problems or all the problems that the American people are facing, and Donald Trump can do no wrong and he's perfect. It is a joke. It is a campaign rally, not a press conference, and it's pathetic. And this is what the Trump administration did first go around, and this is what they're doing now.
Also, another thing, Brian.
Yeah.
Stephen Miller's wife, I call him Pee Wee German. His wife is a minority, and he's a white supremacist.
Yeah, he is. He is. Here's the best analogy that I can give to that. So if you recall, there was a guy by the name of Big Balls that worked for Elon Musk. And he went on social media and he made some terrible racist and bigoted statements, some of whom that are from Indian descent, pretty much endorsing racism towards Indian people. And within hours after this tweet was put out there and the story was out there, J.D. Vance said, we need to give this guy a second chance. J.D. Vance's own wife is Indian. That goes to show you who these people are. That's who J.D. Vance is. That's who Donald Trump is. And they won't even back members of their own family when it comes to racism and bigotry if it means it's politically savvy for
Yeah,
them to
these
do
white
so.
supremacists, they're big time hypocrites. They scream about getting rid of the brown people, but then they marry them. I don't get it, but
Some of them do.
thanks for taking my call, Brian.
All right. Thank you.
Have
my
a great
friend.
day.
Thank you. I appreciate you. That's actually very true in some cases. You're absolutely right about that. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you would like to be a part of the conversation. Let's see who we going to next year. Why don't we go to Vivian? Vivian is next up on PTL. Hey, Vivian, what's going on?
Hi, Brian. How you doing today?
Hey, good. What's on your mind?
I have two things, right?
Sure.
First thing is that I think you should have David Hogg on your show.
I would love to.
Very talking about the same thing you're talking about, changing out the old for the for new people and that's going to fight for us and stuff. And I think he would probably get some other people to join.
Mm-hmm.
And the second thing I wanted to talk about is that I heard that the Republican Party is trying to regroup and get out of MAGA with Michael Steele and a couple of other people. They're joining together to try and get back the Republican Party. What do you think about that?
I don't know. First of all, let me just start with David Hogg.
Is it too late?
I don't think it's ever too late. I would say if you're on the right side of history right now, then it depends on the circumstance. How long did it take you to be anti-Donald Trump? How long did it take you to feel the way you feel? And then take a look at it, and I think it's a case-by-case basis. What I will say, as far as David Hogg is concerned, he's a smart young man. He's extremely young.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he's ready yet. I know he's been he's at a big position within the DNC. But with that being said, I still think he's extremely young. I don't think he's ready to be in that spotlight and taking it to the next level, at least not yet. Probably one day. I don't know if he's ready for that yet. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. I just like when he goes on the shows and what he says and the way he expresses himself in reference to what he thinks we should be doing.
Yeah. Well, I will say this. I didn't like a video that was put out. I guess he had a lunch with somebody and he was being recorded secretly, and he was talking about who's really calling the shots in the Biden administration. I don't know if that's true, but even if that was true, which I'm not sure it is, to be saying things like that in a public restaurant like that, I thought was extremely disappointing and immature on his part to do. We all make mistakes, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. As a whole, I think David Hogg's a good dude. He's very smart, and he has a bright future ahead of him. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Joe. Joe is next on PTL. Hello, Joe.
Hey, Brian. How are you?
Hey, good, Joe. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I'm a Democrat. I'm 69 years old. I can't believe that these people voted, that these MAGA morons voted for what's happening now.
Mm-hmm.
And the work that you do, I don't know how you can put up with talking to these goofballs. Like, I was just watching your one now where the guy called up and said he was J.D. Vance. How stupid are these people?
Yeah, sometimes I entertain their stupidity from time to time, brings a little flavor to the show, but as a whole, a lot of these people are very stupid.
Or what?
A lot of these people are very dumb. They're very ill-informed and uneducated, and they don't understand the damage.
Well,
that
they're
Donald
like
Trump is doing.
RFK Jr. They get the worm in their brain.
Yeah, RFK Jr. is a guy that has used his last name, obviously, the course of his entire life. He's obviously deranged. He's a tinfoil hat. But you know what? It's more than just like a worm in your brain or health issues. He's just not a good guy. I mean, let's be honest here.
Well,
Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s own ex-wife committed suicide after reading his diary of infidelity. This is a guy that hasn't been faithful to anybody his entire life. And listen, there are close members of his family that have called him an abuser, and I believe it, quite frankly. I think Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is just a really bad guy.
Well, I remember I was in 8th grade when his father was killed.
Yeah, that was.
And I said to myself, and even in the 8th grade, RFK would have been one of the greatest presidents. Yeah. I can imagine him rolling around in his grave thinking what he gave birth to.
Well, I'll say this. Listen, it's terrible what happened to his father. It's terrible what happened to his uncle. Obviously, both are complete tragedies. I think Robert F. Kennedy would have been a heck of a good president. I really do. And I believe he was a good man. And obviously, what happened to JFK was horrible. One of the worst moments in the history of this country. With that being said, I think Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is an embarrassment. I think members of his family will be rolling around in their grave. what he has done, the damage he's done, the medical misinformation that he continues to spew. And again, even more important, or maybe just as important, he's just a really bad guy. I think we need to continue to say that. This is the way I vote.
You can blame the whole Republican Party or the MAGA Party, the senators, the congressmen. They are the ones that, his cabinet, okay, they're the ones that endorsed them, okay? They voted them in.
Yeah.
The MAGA Congress, just like the idiot that one congressman from Kentucky wants to rename the D.C. transit line to the Trump train.
Yeah, so listen, it's very important to put this in perspective, and I'm going to try to do that, sir, and I appreciate your call. We have lost touch with what a good human being is, okay? This is the way I vote. You can vote the way you want to, but I'm going to tell you the way I vote right now, and I'll speak third person. This is the way Brian votes. Number one, are you a decent human being? Because chances are, if you're a decent human being, even if I disagree with you on some policy stuff, chances are you'll be a decent president, right? Or, a decent person in charge of health and human services, whatever the case may be. Are you a decent human being? If you're a constant cheater, if you're an abuser, if you're a constant liar, then chances are you're not a good person. Or if you're an adjudicated rapist, if you dodge the military, if you haven't been faithful to one woman your entire life, chances are you're not a good person. You're not going to be a good president. You're not going to do what's best for the country. So regardless of whether you're Republican and Democrat, and I know there's a lot of people in the chat that are probably very staunch Democrats that could never vote for a Republican. That's not who I am. But I think if you're a decent human being, I can vote for you. And people ask me this question all the time because I said it on Piers Morgan's show. It's true. I didn't vote for Barack Obama because I also didn't vote for John McCain because I would have been okay with either of them winning. I didn't like Sarah Palin. I still don't. But I always believed that John McCain, decent human being, and I was going to vote for Barack Obama. But then when I saw John McCain take that microphone from that woman and say, no, ma'am, Barack Obama's a good, decent family man. We just disagree on policy. I said, wow, what a moment for the country. And I said, you know what? I'm okay with either of them winning. It's not because I didn't like Barack Obama. I would have been okay with either of them winning. I didn't want to pick. I felt the same way with Mitt Romney. And I know a lot of people might be surprised to hear that. I've met Mitt Romney multiple times. I don't always agree with Mitt Romney on a lot of policy issues, but I do believe, and I still believe, that Mitt Romney is a man of principle and he is a decent human being and a good family man. That's how I vote. And when I look at Donald Trump, and I look at so many people within the Republican Party today, so many MAGA Republicans, they're just really bad people. Marjorie Taylor Greene, terrible human being. Lauren Boebert, terrible human being. And I see many, in the Republican Party, Gymnasium Jordan, a guy like Matt Gaetz, who luckily right now is no longer in office. But these are just really bad people. These are bad people. These are not serious lawmakers. And I would never vote for somebody like that. Now, I don't think Ilhan Omar is a very nice person either. I don't think Rashida Tlaib is a very nice person either. So it's not just like, I'm not just saying that there are bad people on the right. Certainly there are some bad people on the left too. I don't like Ilhan Omar. But for the most part, I think most Democrats that are in office today in Washington, D.C. are somewhat decent human beings. They have some compassion. They care about the LGBTQ community. They care about those that are trans people. They care about brown people for the most part. And I think there are a lot of Republicans in office today that don't even care about anybody but themselves. They want to cut Medicare, Medicaid. They want to cut food stamps. They want to cut government programs that can help people in this world or in this country that are struggling, living paycheck to paycheck. There's a lot of MAGA Republicans in office today that are just really bad people. All right. Who are we going to next here? 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. Let's go to Frank. Frank is next on PTL. What's up, Frank?
Hey, Brian. The sound is still kind of low, but can you hear me?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Did you see the money touch within the last day? They had a Christian Walker from Face Nation. They showed 9 minutes of Trump's interview with her. He was just babbling on about the 2020. He wouldn't let it go for 9 minutes.
Yeah. So I definitely, Frank, I definitely saw that, and it was a very disappointing interview once again. But you're right. He did rant on and he did babble on. Sir, thank you for the call, Frank. Sir Sue says on YouTube, super chat, I think it'd be great if you could get Caroline, the lying bitch Levette, on the show. She needs someone like you to spar with her. Well, I did that. Caroline Levette did do this show a few months before the elections. It's on my YouTube page. I can try to request to get her back on the show. Probably very unlikely. But Caroline Levette did do this show around September, I think she did the show. And it's on my YouTube page. And maybe I will repost it for some of you to listen to it. But it's on my YouTube page right now. You just go on my page and you search Caroline Levette. You'll see it. She did do my show. I do have her cell phone number, so maybe I should text her and ask her, but I just think it would be very unlikely. All right, 702-221-7283. Let's go to Julie. Julie is next up on PTL. Hi, Julie.
I am very worried about the bill, Brian. I have to get wisdom teeth surgery soon because they're coming in and they're killing me. If I lose my insurance and if I don't get the surgery and one of my teeth get infected,
yeah,
guess where that goes? To my heart,
To your
which
heart.
I have to take medicine for.
Right, right.
And
Yes.
that would be deadly for me. And guess who would think? Donald Trump. And there's a lot of people out there like me that's going to freaking suffer. There's people in the chat I talk to.
Yeah.
They say they're going to suffer. And this is what they want. They want all of us who have health issues to rot away. And I'm scared. But at least I got that check this month.
Well, you have a right to be scared. I can tell you that there are a lot of people that are fighting for people like you. There's no question about that. And you're right. Whether it be dental work or any type of health care that anybody truly needs for their life to save their life. And you're right. When your teeth are decaying, it could go to your heart. So this is very serious. And what Republicans are doing is despicable and it's disgusting. Let's go to Shelley. Shelley is next up on PTL. Hey, Shelley, what's going on?
Hey, Brian. I totally agree with you about Joe Walsh.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a decent man, and I don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican. If you're a decent person, you're a decent person, and you care about the country. You don't just care about your position of power.
Yeah.
And what McCain did by taking that mic away from that lady, that was a class act by McCain. Absolutely.
Yep. And that's what made me say, okay, I'm okay with either of these people winning,
Yeah.
even though I was not a Sarah Palin fan at all. I believe
Yeah.
John McCain would have been a good president. I really do.
And honey, I'll let you go. I know it's late.
Thank you.
Okay, babe. Bye.
Thank you, Shelley. Take care. Let's go to Richard. Richard is next up on PTL. What's up, Richard?
Hey, Brian, I just kind of want to get your thought on the European election in Poland.
Yeah.
You're really good at writing polls, so I want to know what you think about that.
Don't know enough about it. Don't know enough about it. I think he was trying to make a homophobic joke about a poll, and then he hangs up the phone. So a true coward. So, Richard, here's what I would say to you. The fact that you're listening to my show right now, and the first thing that entered your mind was me and a poll, I think speaks more about you and the type of dreams that you have in your mind. I want everybody to think about this for a second because Richard is a good example of what I'm talking about. Let's end the show on a fun note here for a moment. Imagine being a middle-aged man, listening to my show, and thinking to yourself, this is going to be my enjoyment of the day, because when I think about Brian, I think about genitalia and using the term pole in a homophobic sense. That's what this guy just did. But I don't think it's the idea that he has a sophomoric frame of mind when it comes to making jokes. I actually think this is a guy who actually thinks about me and he thinks about polls. And that's totally okay, Richard. And by the way, your name is very, I would say your name, Richard. Can I call you Dick? Mr. Dick, can I call you that? I think it's very interesting that you called into this show and you don't want to talk about any of the serious news topics of the day, but yet you have some sort of fetish with me and polls. But I'll tell you what, email me your address and I'll sign an autographed photo for you, okay? And you can put that next to your polls in your house and some of the other machinery in your drawer that vibrates. Have a nice day, Richard. We appreciate your time. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So here's what we are going to do. Tomorrow on the show, Joe Walsh is going to be joining us. Joe Walsh made the announcement today on social media officially that he is turning to the Democrat Party. This is a staunch Republican who ran for president as a Republican. He is a former Republican congressman out of Chicago. This is a big deal because Joe Walsh is a household name. You see him on CNN. You see him on MSNBC. He used to do Fox News all the time until he started to become anti-Donald Trump. So Joe Walsh is going to be joining us on the show tomorrow for an exclusive interview. I've known Joe for years, telling us why he has decided to switch to the Democrat Party, which is a big deal for Democrats. I think it is because Joe Walsh is a household name. He is a fighter. He's very anti-Donald Trump, and some people have called into the show and they haven't bought into it, but I'm going to give Joe the opportunity to talk about it tomorrow on the show. Also want to thank Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones, home of the $20 ribeye steak. They haven't changed the price in over 8 years. Comes with, want to miss out on it. Check them out, Flamingo and Jones, the official gaming bar of the PTL radio show, Jackson's Bar and Grill. And we've also told you guys to check out bloody-shirt.com. It's protest apparel, the visual ammunition to ridicule Trump and his supporters. It is pretty funny, and they sell T-shirts for $45, hoodies for $60. They have all sorts of different designs. Just check it out. Let me know what you think. Bloody-shirt.com, where you can get all your anti-Donald Trump apparel. And that's never a bad thing, at least from my perspective. It's never a bad thing at all. All right, everybody. Joe Walsh is going to be joining us tomorrow. Check out my website, pushingthelimits.live, where we sell mugs, hats, shirts, you name it. We run an independently owned radio show here. We rely on good people like you. You could also make donations on the website, pushingthelimits.live. We appreciate you guys very much. Thank you, PTL Nation. We will be back at it tomorrow. Sorry for those technical difficulties early on in the show. We got those worked out and fixed, and we will see you tomorrow. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Hey everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Greenwood Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you